I'm here at my buddy Alex's place. I want to start doing a new series about my friends and what type of collection they have, and this is also a secret ploy to get pours of free bourbon, so why not?
So the first thing we have is the, I've been looking for this. This is the Costco's Kirkland Signature Bottle and Bond. I heard the others aren't that great, but the Bottle and Bond made by Barton 1792 is pretty good. So that's the first one we picked up today. I just came back from a camping trip, and what I brought was Traverse City cherry whiskey, but it's the barrel proof, and they have a cherry festival once a year, and they put out these special bourbons, and this one is a 9-year. This is an interesting one. My buddy is a big fan of Three Floyds, and they make single malt, and this is a single malt with the same wheat that is made for their bubblegum head beer. And this could pass for a bourbon. I mean, it's not the best tasting. It is 4 years, I believe, so it does taste young, but I don't like single malt, and as single malts go, it's delicious. This is Jeppson's bourbon. They have a bad reputation because everybody universally hates Malort, but apparently their bourbon is great because it's sourced. 118.3 proof port finish bourbon, and I think it's fantastic. And I can't remember how much it was, but it was definitely priced for the Jeppson's name, so I think you get a pretty good deal from that. And then this is one of my favorite. I don't generally like Scotch because I don't like the taste of malt, but the Glenfiddich 12 whatever cherry cask, the red label, I think is pretty good. In Wisconsin at a liquor store, and I picked up this Obtainium Canadian whiskey. It's 26 years at 78.8% alcohol, so almost 160 proof. And I have an open bottle of this, which you should try. So this is just a random assortment of whiskeys that I'm kind of currently tasting. So these are the different types of whiskeys. Like this is a Armagnac that's been finished in a Weller barrel. This is a 13-year rum that has been finished in a Weller barrel. And then this is a Añejo tequila that has been finished in a William LaRue Weller. And I don't like tequila, and that's my favorite tasting tequila right now. This Jacob's Pardon, this is number 2, and it's like a mix. It's a whiskey mixed with light whiskey, and I like it a lot. I'm kind of looking for the number 3, which is the 140 proof, but I'm not really willing to pay $200 for it. This is that Obtainium that I told you about, which you should definitely try. It's the hottest thing you'll taste because it's 160 proof. This is, I don't generally like American single malt, but this one is 135.5 proof, and the proof seems to make it taste much better. Nothing can be too sweet, so this is the Starlight Black Raspberry Bourbon Liqueur, which I have to like it. And then behind it is the Crown Royal Blackberry, which I also enjoy. Here's a new finished whiskey. Is probably one of my favorites. Not my favorite, but it's probably top 5 that I like. I just got it last week. It's the Found North. It's a 15-year corn whiskey, a 22-year corn whiskey, a 23-year corn whiskey, an 18-year rye, and a 19-year rye. And it's finished in sherry, cognac, and bourbon barrels, and it's very delicious. This is probably right now my favorite Scotch that I have in my collection because it is not a Scotch malt whiskey, it's a Scotch grain whiskey. So it's whiskey made in a column still, and it's unlike most Scotch, it's cask strength at 120 proof, and it's my favorite Scotch currently. This is an interesting Scotch, the Orchard House. It is probably the most sour Scotch I've ever had, and it literally tastes like a whiskey version of dry white wine. Got a great deal on this Penelope barrel strength, pretty good. This is that pick that we did, was bourbon. This was the Booker's barrel that we tried. I really like this Old Overhold cask strength 10-year. I think right now a screaming good deal is this bourbon rye, a Boer rye Knob Creek, I got it for $40 for 113 proof. I think is a great deal. I don't generally like Jim Beam products, but I feel like at the higher proof they get much better. That's pretty awful. It's a Balcones single malt, Dickel Bottle and Bond Blue Label. Not because I like it, but because I wanted to know what the taste of minerality is that everyone's talking about, and now I know. I also do not like it. It's actually not bad. It's just not as sweet as I would like to have bourbon be. Evan Williams single barrel, I enjoyed a lot. It's only 86.6 proof, but I feel like it actually drinks pretty hot, like 95, 100. So I think I got it at a great deal as well. This is a weird one. Few Motor Oil. This is finished in rum and vermouth casks at 101 proof. I am not sure how I feel about that yet. The Larceny C923, fantastic. Might be my favorite wheat whiskey right now. Started been getting into is this Wilderness Trail wheat whiskey. And I don't know exactly what makes it so much better than some of the other Wilderness Trail I've had, but something about maybe having this FP1 yeast strain with a Char 4 barrel. I mean, it's only 5 years old, but it's actually pretty sweet and fruity for a young whiskey. And so different barrel picks, and both of them are great. I think definitely tastes much older than the 4 or 5 years that it's aged in. This is from the last video, our Nashville barrel we got at the Evergreen Liquors, and it beats everything. It's like one of my top five favorite whiskeys that I have here in my collection, and we don't have any idea where it is, what it's from. Even
if it's weeded or not, which we do suspect it is weeded.
Exactly. I think it's weeded. It seems pretty fruity. It has a clean taste. Here's the new Fox & Odin Double Oaked. You know, I like it, but it doesn't seem to do well in my blind, so not sure how I feel about it, but I still haven't tasted it that much. I think I want you to try this. This is my favorite Russell's picks that I've had. I have 4 Russell's pick. This one is a Warehouse TYRB 9 years. See how you feel about it. Yeah. Just I think some of them are really good and some of them are mediocre. Elijah Craig B524, which I think is a great batch. It's better than C923. I've gone back and forth. Different blinds. I think they're pretty neck and neck. A Laws single barrel I will say that I've proofed it down to, I think it's actually a little too hot at 145. I love hot whiskeys, but it's a little bit hot. It'll burn your tongue. And so I actually tried proofing it down, and I think it kind of resembles more of the Elijah Craig profile. It's a 4 grain though. But at lower proof, I don't feel like it's as sweet as some of the best bourbons that I have, but it's great. I'm not disappointed with it at all. Best value right now I think is Green River. I think I got this for $45, the full proof. Fantastic, very sweet, and it's just been killing it in my blinds. I finally got a hold of a Weller 12, an antique, so I made my poor man's Pappy, and it seems to be doing pretty well.
Do you have Pappy to compare to?
I do not.
Okay. Just go by memory, I guess.
Yeah, and then I know people aren't so into this, but I love sweet whiskey, so I have the Garrison's Brothers Lady Bird, which is the bourbon infused with honey and finished in cognac casks. Very, very yummy. I like it. I have it in a blind with Wild Turkey American Honey, Catoctin Creek Hot Honey Rye, and the 3 Chords Honey Barreled finish. I mean, definitely the Lady Bird beat all of that, but I can't remember how the others did. But I kind of like all 3 of them. And so that's about it for the ones that I'm trying right now. Okay, so here's the rest of my whiskey. I'm definitely in need of a new shelf. I just bought a new shelf. But yeah, basically, I do a lot of bourbon hunting, but I don't know. I don't go to as many places as you do. I feel like Binny's here in Chicago does a great job of putting whiskey out, and I go for the luck method, where the number of times you go into Binny's, you just get lucky. And so I actually go to usually like 3 Binnies a day. I go to 2 Binnies on my lunch break, and I go to 1 Binnies on the way to the rock climbing gym after work. Don't pay more than, I mean, Binnies does mark up a little bit above MSRP, but I generally try to stay close to MSRP. I do like cast strength, so I think I've decided I'm never going to pay more than $100 for anything that is not cast strength. And I think my rule is I won't pay more than $100 if it doesn't have a reasonable chance of being the best thing I've ever tasted up until then. Now, it doesn't have to be, but it has to have a reasonable chance, is what I would say. Probably, I mean, most of my whiskey here is actually not ultra expensive. I think probably the most expensive thing I have here is, and most people probably don't think it's worth it, but it's the Angel's Envy Cast Strength Rye. And I like finished whiskeys because I like sweet whiskey, and so you know, I like most of Angel's Envy.
Is it a straight rye? Or do you think they could possibly add any kind of flavor to it or something?
Oh no, it's finished in this one. This year's annual release is finished in Sauternes barrels. Their rye is usually in the rum. Their bourbons in the.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much most of my bottles here, like the best bottles I have are all open. So if you break into my place, you're only going to steal open bottles. I do have stockpiles, but they're usually stockpiles of cheaper bourbons like Heaven Hill, old regular Angel's Envy, and Buffalo Trace. I started drinking bourbon seriously in the last 1.5 or 2 years, and I have yet to kill a bottle because I don't drink very much. Every time I drink, I do a blind of 4 different bourbons or whiskeys, and it usually is about 1 to 1.25 ounces. I have my E.H. Taylor Straight Rye, E.H. Taylor Small Batch, and E.H. Taylor Single Barrel. Out of the 3, I actually like the Straight Rye the best. Blanton's Gold, I think is probably the most overrated whiskey, but I have it there because people like to drink it. My favorite whiskeys in my collection are my Stags, not surprisingly. Elijah Craig's are C923, and I found this private barrel that's 8 years, but it's one of my favorites. This Jack Daniel's single barrel proof was the first whiskey that got me into cast strength. It was the first high proof whiskey I had, and I was immediately hooked. And
I think I tried that sample and it was really good.
Yeah. Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend.
You paid $220 for it?
I think it was $200. Not my favorite, but I understand what they're trying to do, because this is kind of like finished bourbon where you want to keep the essence of the bourbon, but for me, nothing can be too sweet. So I like my other finished whiskeys better just because they just overpower the bourbon, and I don't care. It's Redwood Empire Haystack Needle 14 year. Very good. This is my favorite Old Forester single barrel. Just a very high proof. Jack Daniel's American Single Malt, probably one of my favorite single malts. I don't usually like single malt, but I think with the heavily charred barrels and the Lincoln Town process has made the malt actually taste great. And then the twice barreled rye, which I like a lot. I can't remember how much it was, but maybe it was like $200 or something, but I did get the
oh yeah, I was so tempted too.
Hardin Creek set. The Frankfurt was the best, and the Boston was the oakiest and the worst, and Claremont was somewhere in the middle. I thought the Frankfurt was very bright. Probably the best thing I've had by Jim Beam, I think, is the Hardin Creek Frankfurt.
And you're about to run out to Binny's and get their 2 year, right, to complete your collection.
No way. Yeah, I have the Widow Jane Decadence. This is kind of more like the the Magnus Cigar Blend, where it's a more subtle finish. So it's not bad, but it's also not my favorite finished whiskey. I think this Copper and Cask actually is right now my favorite finished whiskey. I could be wrong, but I think it's in a blind. It's pretty much beat everything. This is finished in Armagnac and port casks at 59.9%. 16 year. This is and then of course one of my favorite ryes is the Jack Daniel's single barrel rye. I actually had 4 of these. I tried 4 of these before our barrel pick because I wanted to get a sense of like the range of the barrel proof ryes, and I was really happy with our barrel pick. It's probably 2 of our picks were better than all the other barrel proof ryes I've tried by Jack Daniel's. So these are all my favorites. I think right now my favorite is this Augustus Buckner 10 year. I tried your sample of the 13 year and that was fantastic. If I could find it, I would get it. I was telling you about this barrel 35. This is a 117.5 proof that drinks 130. It literally will fool you in a blind thinking it's like a 130 proof whiskey. It can go up against Elijah Craig barrel proof and Old Forester single barrel, and I think it's probably one of the best shelfers there. Bardstown 11, also fantastic. I think I like the barrel 35 better than Bardstown 11, but I'm a big fan. I have the green barrel full proof, but this is a single barrel, and the single barrel is actually better than the full proof. Barrel Advantage, also very good. I like the 35 better, but I think this is the finished in Mizunara French and toasted American oak. Probably one of the best deals out there for $65. Now I've seen it even cheaper. Not the highest proof, this is 52.9%, but I think it's a great deal. This is the only Clyde Mays I've ever tried, and I like it. This is one of my first high proof bourbons in my collection, and I think it's fantastic. This is also one of the ones I stockpile, so Peerless Double Oak is probably my favorite double oak in my collection. I have all the Redwood Empires, the Pipe Dream, Lost Monarch, and Emerald Giant. At the cask strength level, my favorite is the Pipe Dream, but at the regular, I think 90 proof level, I think the Lost Monarch is the best of the 3. And my feeling is you don't have to buy all 3. You just have to buy the Pipe Dream, and you have to buy the Emerald Giant, and then you can mix yourself the Monarch, because it's just a 60-40 blend, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Smoke Wagon, also. I enjoy this. I like it. It's high proof, but it doesn't tend to do well in my blinds. I haven't drunk much of this. This is the Milan and Green Unabridged. It made it on Fred Minnick's Top 100, so I think I saw it on sale and I grabbed it. I think it's decent. Really don't remember much. Should probably try it. 2XO. I think this went on sale. So I generally won't spend $100 for something that's not cask strength. This is 104 proof. American Oak, the 2XO American Oak, I thought was a great deal for that $40-$45 range. And so when this was on sale, I can't remember how much it was, I decided to try it, and it's okay. Knob Creek 12 at Costco for $60. Heaven Hill, I love this Heaven Hill Bottle and Bond. In our area, it's less than $40, and for a 7-year bourbon, I think it's a great deal. Second favorite bourbon at 100 proof, Early Times Bottle and Bond. This is an interesting one. This is Binny's own Clark and Sheffield brand. It's a 1792 product. So we will blind this against the 1792 Kirkland Costco. See who has the better. And then this is more of, I guess, lower proof. You have the Caribou Crossing. A lot of people really crap on Travelers. I like Travelers because it's a sweet whiskey. And is it bourbon? No. But if you like sweet whiskey, it is definitely low proof, but I think it's great. I feel like my theory is, I have no inside information, but my theory is it's like Caribou Crossing and 1792 kind of mixed together. This is probably what I feel is the most underrated bourbon on the market. This is old. This is the cheapest level Four Roses at 80 proof. This bourbon is dilute to the point where, yeah, there's not much taste, but it also has nothing that I dislike about bourbon. And so when I discovered Four Roses Yellow Label, I immediately said I'll never buy vodka ever again, because all you get from this is sweet vanilla, and sweet vanilla goes with every cocktail. Not as a big fan of the small batch or even the single barrel, but love the single barrel select and love the Four Roses single barrels. Right now, my favorite ryes is Pikesville. This is the Knob Creek store pick. You should try this. This made it the top rye in the Ascot Awards. This is the finished whiskey section. So below here are kind of like the ones that everybody like, but I still drink them because I kind of want to rank them in terms of how I feel about these other bottles. But
You're not a Henry McKenna 10 fanboy?
no,
Like everybody else?
no, I was yeah. I mean, I love Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, but Henry McKenna, I don't know, for 10 years it just came across as being on the young side. Those barrels are meant to be aged for even longer, and so when they cut it at 10 years for the McKenna, it's just not my favorite.
Oh.
I have every one of the 10 different Four Roses single barrel.
And they're all Benny's picks.
They're all Benny's picks. And what I've decided now that I've tried them all is that there are certain ones that are like 110 proof and there are ones that are 120 proof. And not coincidentally, I like the ones that are all 120 proof. So now what I've decided is I have 3 out of the 10 that are 120 proof, and I won't be able to decide which is actually the best recipe unless I compare it with all 120. Over here I have Elijah Craig was kind of like the first high proof, other than the Jack Daniels, that I could get a lot of different barrels of, and I went through a phase where anytime I saw a private barrel I would pick up, and now I'm at the phase where it has to be at least 130 proof for me to buy a private barrel, because as you can see, it's going to take me years to go through that step. Macallan, very overrated. I used to think that this was so great, and then what I realized is most Scotch is just low proof whiskey. Out of the Islay Scotches, I'm not a big fan of peated Scotches, but Lagavulin 16 is probably the sweetest and I like the most, but I think you should do a blind with Lagavulin 16, Caol Ila, and the Lafroig 10, and the Ardbeg 10. Bunnahabhain, a lot of people like this because this and the Bruichladdich are kind of like the less peated Islay whiskey, but this one is very malty, but the Bruichladdich is not as malty. So I think I'd like you to taste this because I kind of like it. What I found was I do like Scotches at cask strength, so you might want to try that one. The Springbank, everyone loves the Springbank, but it is very malty and it's not a fan of. This was voted in 2022 as the best Scotch, and it was a $60 bottle, so I had to get it. That's okay. This is not a Scotch, this is an American single malt, and it is probably my favorite American single malt right now. It's the port side, and this is just port overpowering, but I like sweet whiskey, so I love port. I'm not a huge fan of Scotch because I actually don't like the taste of malt. And my feeling is when I taste a highly malted Scotch, I feel like I'm tasting distillate. Most of all of Scotch is malted barley, but there are some Scotch grain whiskey that I've started to get into, like this bottle of Hedonism, and I think it's fantastic. So I think my theory is I like the taste of the barrel, I don't like the taste of the distillate. So now when I look for Scotch, I look at Scotch grain whiskey. I also look at Scotches that have been aged in bourbon barrels, because I think that charcoal does, even from a used barrel, does filter out more of the maltiness. Or I look for highly finished scotches like, you know, rum or sherry, because it covers over a lot of the malt taste that I don't like. So whenever I hear a review that says the finish is overpowering the scotch, that instantly becomes something that goes on my radar. I think I want you to try all of my cask strength scotches, because I think for people that don't necessarily like scotch because they're used to bourbon, and especially high proof bourbon, I think you'll have more success enjoying scotch that is at cask strength. So this Benriach is cask strength, finished in rum barrels.